Hello, this is Steven Allen. Yes, we are back with another Batman 66 episode review. Today, we'll be reviewing the episode Penguin's a Girl's Best Friend, the first in yet another three-parter, with the Penguin teaming up with Marsha, Queen of Diamonds. Without further review, let's get into the review. We opened the episode with it's supposed to be a normal day in Gotham City, but Penguin and four accomplices are pulling an armed robbery. But Penguin's acting all weird as he's speaking through a bullhorn, and is sort of not participating really in the robbery, which is very weird. Just as that's happened, Batman and Robin are driving by, they see the commotion, drive down the street, and end up beating up the four thugs. However, the Penguin is acting all gleeful, and when Chief O'Hara comes out saying, "What have you done?" we find out that something's really off here, and which is revealed that what they've actually done is they've actually interrupted a shoot. This was no robbery, this was a fake mock-up. But however, because he's physically assaulted them for no good reason, he is to be charged with assault and battery and the city to possibly be sued. However, he's willing to drop it if he makes a deal with Batman and Robin, which they have to agree, otherwise they could be charged. We don't know what the deal is as the opening credits roll. We also find out in the opening credits that Penguin will not be alone. He'll be teaming up with Marsha for this outing. We find out in Police Commissioner Gordon's office that what the deal was for Batman and Robin to star in Penguin's picture. However, Batman says he knew about the fake thing on his way up and decided to join the movie theater, the Penguin's production company, in order to really have a look on what Penguin's up to, because he knows the Penguin's not up to make a movie. Something's off here, and essentially they'll be doing some undercover work. While this is happening, Penguin is really living up to his gloating image of being this producer and big time director, as he's calling all the departments, but he's also called in and Marsha, Queen of Diamonds, to help out with his latest caper, which is to be the biggest pull in Gotham City, and if she helps, they can both become billionaires. But he needs some money, and her diamonds would go a long way for that. She agrees to help, as she'll be the leading lady of the film if she agrees, and she's even more ecstatic since the main star of the film is Batman, which she is ecstatic to join. We then cut to Batman and Robin in the Batcave looking at Penguin's script, where they find a scene that is definitely pushing the boundaries in a very risky thing, and that the League of Film Decency would be keen to hear. Now, if you don't know what that is, you see, the system where they used to rank films whether they're suitable for certain ages didn't come until very years later. So these film decency leagues were very prominent around, and depends on what personal view and what could be presented in a film or not. So yeah, that's what they are, and I like that because I had to understand it, but I had to do some research, and so that's what it is. As that's happening, we find out what the scene is, what they plan to shoot, and it's very, let's just say, inappropriate, and I'm laughing at it because of it. Just as that's happening, Aunt Hilda and several members of the Gotham City Film Decency League turn up and have a quarrel with Penguin about the scene, and I'm just liking how she is not backing down, and the smirk Batman, Robin, and Alfred, who happens to be there, are just giving these smirks as they have no idea what the Penguin's in for. I'm getting a crack out of it. Because of her, I like to say, stones, the Penguin agrees to back down and cut the scene, but instead move to the kissing scene between Marsha and Batman, which Batman does go through with. It should be noted that Marsha has some special lipstick that Aunt Hilda made for a sort of love potion, but we find out it hasn't worked, and instead has caused Bruce's lips to chap. And we also find out that he's also placed some bat devices in a museum that they were at, and thinking in case that the Penguin was planning to steal something from the place, and that it would go off saying if it was stolen. We then go to Penguin with Marsha having a conversation. Essentially nothing really to progress the plot, but just how Aunt Hilda's potion has failed. We then go to Marsha going to Aunt Hilda, and it's lovely to see Aunt Hilda again making like a potion, you know. And I like how there's this creature that has just recently appeared, and he's named Mortimer. It's funny as hell, and basically they plan to do a brand new potion, but what they need is some old toads since she's out. But what's this potion for? We'll have to find out more about it in the next two-parter, as we have no time to focus on it in this episode. It comes later. We then find Batman and Robin at the museum to plan to shoot, where the museum director comes and says that a certain priceless armor has been stolen. And the reason why Batman hasn't been reported, well, Batman hasn't been reported because of the tracking devices, because of some coincidence, the armor has somehow prevented the tracking system from working, because he's put tracking devices on nearly everything available, and some weird coincidence devices short circuit, so can't really help. Still confusing? Trust me, it's more confusing in the episode. Anyway, realizing that Batman will be onto his caper, they plan to shoot, in which we get our bat fight. It's kind of fun, and it ends with Batman and Robin winning. But wait, this is the first part. That can't be over quite soon. Eventually, Penguin uses a bright light to blind Batman and Robin, and the henchmen apprehend them by throwing a net. We then end the episode on the cliffhanger where they are tied and placed in a giant, essentially catapult, where they'll be flown across and essentially land face flat. And cameras are tied to their legs so it can be seen and filmed and shown to prisoners in Gotham Penitentiary. Penguin then starts to burn the rope. He and his men leave, and that is our cliffhanger. The cast here, well, let's be honest, Chief O'Hara and Gordon rarely do any real role here to the story. I like Aunt Harriet's scene, it's so funny as hell, and Batman and Robin being forced into a movie, I admit it's different, but also kind of, what? And that's, I think, the word, what? What? That's the word to describe this. But then again, we're not really here for the main, well, I mean, don't get me wrong, the main cast are fun, but there's always the villains that draw us to these episodes. The Penguin here is absolutely great, as always. Burgess Meredith, I think, is working really well here. He has in concept, he's got a good script, and he's playing, and the Penguin playing it up, I think himself to be this artist, this movie producer, fits Penguin's personality, and even ego very well. And truly making the Penguin this pompous, arrogant jerk. I think Burgess Meredith is the definitive Penguin for this show. And I also like how he's more straightforward and does most of the planning. And to be fair, he does get some help, but his helps are unique and have different personalities. Marsha, Queen of Diamonds, I'm not really sure what to say. Is it possible? Nothing against Caroline Jones. Hopefully, is it Caroline? Anyway, nothing against the actress. She is with this character. She plays it well, and is definitely different to Morticia Addams in the Addams Family. But if I could be, and her Diamond Obsession character is pretty great. But that's stuff that worked in her first episode outing. When she came back, you see, what I've always liked about the Mad Hatter was his characterization and motivations moved on to the next episodes. This one, they's kind of lost, and she's just tagging along for the ride. And I'm not really a huge fan of that. I was never a fan of Marsha to begin with, but I also kind of feel her character's going a little bit downhill. But for some reason, in this episode, I find her more pleasantly enjoyable than the previous. I'm not saying she's a bad villain by any stretch, but I never found her to be that good. She was kind of okay in the middle. But the one thing I can be grateful for when they brought over into this episode was her assistant. Aunt Hilda is always fun to see. She is absolutely great. And she's arguably one of my favorite bit of the Marsha character. It made sense, because it's clear that she's, she couldn't be smart enough to come up with this. Not really. She needs help. And it made sense that Aunt Hilda would provide all these potions that she would use. It makes a lot of sense, and it's done. And arguably, she works very well with Marsha. I've got to admit, the Penguin teaming up with Marsha, a well-known villain teaming up with essentially new on the scene, I should say. Not a newcomer, new on the scene, because we've just saw her in a previous episode. I don't mind the two teaming up, and the Penguin and Marsha do share some chemistry. But if I could be quite blunt, I never found Marsha that quite enjoyable. But I can't deny that her teaming up with Penguin does make her a little bit better, and the two villains, like how they pull off a caper, do blend pretty well. Penguin is a girl's best friend, a pretty okay compared to the other three-parter, how it started, which got me from the get-go, this one is okay. It has some good concepts. Penguin and Marsha teaming up, two villains that are unlikely to team up, but for some reason work. And Penguin being a movie producer, it's a big, you know that Penguin's pulling all out for this big caper, so already we're starting something new. But there's something that's starting to feel tired here, or something that I don't find to be that enjoyable, or that fully engaging compared to the previous three-parter. I don't know what's causing it, but something is. There we have it. That is Penguin is a girl's best friend. Join us next time for the second part in this three-parter. So until next time, join in for the same Steven hour, the same Steven channel, ladies and gentlemen. So long for now.